At my dad's birthday cookout, Mom snatched the gift from my hands and said, "Don't give him cheap stuff. Your sister already got him something real." My sister smirked. "Put yours on the side table." I smiled. She'd used my card for her real gift. I reversed it in the driveway and left a document under Dad's plate. When he read it, he froze. I had canceled and minutes later, my phone started exploding. My name is Brandon. I'm 28 years old, and if there's one thing I've learned about being the dependable child, it's that dependability gets mistaken for weakness, for doormat energy, for something you can wipe your shoes on without saying thank you. I stood in my kitchen that Saturday morning, wrapping Dad's birthday gift, a leather-bound journal with his initials embossed in gold. He used to write when I was young, back before Mom convinced him his stories were a waste of time. I'd seen him sketching notes on napkins at restaurants, scribbling ideas on the backs of grocery receipts. This journal felt right, personal, thoughtful, but thoughtful didn't matter in my family, not when Samantha existed. Samantha is my older sister by 3 years. She's the golden child, the one whose apartment lease I co-signed when her credit tanked, the one whose car insurance I paid when she wrapped her sedan around a mailbox, the one who borrowed $5,000 for her engagement party and never mentioned it again. Mom called her ambitious. Dad called her spirited. I called her what she was, entitled, and I was the fixer, the one they called when rent came up short or when the water heater died, the dependable disappointment who showed up with checks and got a nod, maybe a distracted hug if I was lucky. No one asked how I could afford it. No one wondered if maybe I had my own bills, my own life, my own breaking point. They just assumed the money would always flow. I taped the final corner of the wrapping paper and set the gift on my counter. In 3 hours, I'd drive to my parents' house for the cookout. Dad would be 62. There'd be burgers, potato salad, maybe some of Mom's lemon cake. Samantha would show up late with something flashy, probably bought on credit she had no intention of repaying. Mom would fawn. Dad would smile in that tired way he did when he didn't want to argue. And I'd stand in the backyard with a paper plate, invisible. That's what 7 years of secret payments bought me. Invisibility with a side of resentment. Because here's what nobody knew. Since I was 21 and landed my first corporate accounting job, I'd been covering their mortgage. Both car loans, health insurance premiums, property taxes twice a year. I started because Dad lost his job during a recession and Mom's part-time work at the library barely paid for groceries. Samantha was in college living her best life on a campus 2 states away, while I picked up night shifts and skipped meals to wire money home. They recovered. Dad got contracted work. Mom went full-time. But they never told me to stop sending money, so I didn't. I figured maybe it was helping them rebuild. Maybe they were saving. Maybe one day they'd mention it, say thank you, acknowledge the $180,000 I'd funneled into their accounts over 7 years. They never did. And Samantha? She thought I was just barely scraping by, living in my modest apartment, driving my old sedan. She had no idea I'd been promoted twice. No idea my salary had doubled. No idea that the only reason she got to throw her lavish engagement party was because I'd been subsidizing the family finances for nearly a decade. I picked up the journal and turned it over in my hands. The leather was soft, expensive. I'd spent an extra $40 to have his initials done in real gold leaf. It mattered to me that it be perfect, that it show I paid attention, that it prove I cared. I thought that's what family did. You helped when people needed it. You stayed quiet and dependable. You didn't make waves. You didn't keep score. You just loved them and hoped they'd love you back. I was about to learn just how expensive that belief really was. The cookout was already in full swing when I arrived. Dad stood by the grill, flipping burgers with the precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Mom floated between clusters of neighbors and extended family, laughing too loud at jokes that weren't funny. I parked on the street because Samantha's car, a sleek white SUV I didn't recognize, took up the driveway. New car. I wondered whose credit she destroyed to get it. I grabbed the gift and walked through the side gate into the backyard. The smell of charcoal and lighter fluid mixed with freshly cut grass. Someone's speaker played classic rock at a volume just slightly too loud. Kids ran past me chasing a deflating beach ball. Mom spotted me first. Her smile tightened at the edges, the way it always did when I showed up. Not quite disappointment, not quite annoyance. Just a flicker of something that said my presence was expected but not celebrated. "Oh, Brandon, you made it." Not "I'm so glad you're here." Not "we've been waiting for you." Just acknowledgement that I'd arrived, like I was the mailman dropping off a package. I nodded. Wouldn't miss it. I moved toward Dad, but Mom intercepted me, her hand shooting out to pluck the gift from my hands. She didn't ask. She just took it, turning it over with a critical eye, her red nails tapping against the wrapping paper. "What's this?" "A journal for Dad," I said. "He used to write, so I thought." "A journal?" Her voice climbed half an octave. She looked at me like I'd handed her a gas station gift card. "Don't give him cheap stuff, Brandon. Your sister already got him something real." The words hit me square in the chest. Cheap stuff, something real. I stood there frozen while she walked past me and set my gift on the side table near the fence. Not on the main gift table where Samantha's enormous wrapped box sat like a centerpiece. Not anywhere Dad would see it first, just shoved aside like junk mail. Like an afterthought. Samantha appeared from the patio, holding a glass of wine, her smile sharp as a blade. She wore a sundress that probably cost more than my car payment. Her hair was professionally styled. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like someone who'd never worried about money a day in her life. "Put yours on the side table," she said, her tone dripping with fake sweetness. "We wouldn't want Dad to open the watch and then have to pretend your little book is just as nice." I looked at her, at the designer sunglasses perched on her head, at the SUV in the driveway, at the confidence that came from never being told no, at the smirk that said she knew exactly how much that comment would sting. I smiled, because in that moment, standing in the middle of my parents' backyard while neighbors pretended not to notice the family drama unfolding, I realized something. Samantha's real gift, the one Mom was already gushing about to a cousin by the patio, had been purchased 3 days ago. I knew because I'd gotten the fraud alert on my phone. $873 charged to my credit card at a luxury watch retailer. I'd thought it was a mistake, maybe a stolen card number. I'd been planning to dispute it Monday morning, but now watching Samantha sip her wine and Mom parade the box around like she'd personally funded it, I understood. She'd used my card. She'd stolen my information, bought an expensive gift for Dad, and let everyone believe it came from her generosity. And Mom had just stood in front of a backyard full of people and told me my thoughtful, personal gift was cheap trash. I didn't say a word. I just smiled wider. "You're right," I said quietly. "That's a really nice watch." Samantha's smirk faltered for half a second. Maybe she caught something in my tone. Maybe she was just surprised I didn't argue. But she recovered fast, lifting her glass in a mock toast. "Only the best for Dad." I nodded slowly, then turned and walked back through the side gate. I didn't run, didn't storm off. I just walked calmly to my car, slid into the driver's seat, and pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app. I found the charge, and I reversed it. Right there in the driveway, with the smell of burgers drifting over the fence and the sound of laughter echoing from the backyard, I filed a chargeback for fraud, unauthorized use, stolen card information. The transaction reversed in 45 seconds. Then I opened my laptop in the passenger seat, and I started printing. I sat in my car for 20 minutes. The engine was off. The windows were up. I could hear the muffled sounds of the party continuing without me. Someone laughed. A dog barked. Dad's voice called out something about medium rare. Music thumped in the background, bass vibrating through the fence. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, not yet. From something deeper. From the slow, creeping realization that I'd spent 7 years funding a life that didn't include me. I wasn't part of the family. I was the bank account they didn't bother to thank. The safety net they never acknowledged. The invisible foundation holding up their entire world. Mom's words looped in my head. "Don't give him cheap stuff." As if the journal I'd spent 2 hours picking out, the one I'd had custom engraved, was garbage compared to the watch Samantha bought with my stolen card information. As if my thoughtfulness was less valuable than her theft. As if I was less valuable. I pulled up my credit card statement and stared at the charge again. $873. Reversed. pending refund. Samantha would get a notification soon, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. Her smug little smile would crack when that watch got flagged as unpaid, when the store demanded she return it or face collections. But that wasn't enough. It didn't touch the hurt, didn't address the 7 years of being invisible, didn't fix the fact that I'd been erased from my own family while simultaneously funding their entire lifestyle. I opened my banking app and scrolled through 7 years of transaction history. Mortgage payments, car loans, insurance premiums, tax payments, all sent from my account to theirs, all quiet, all invisible. I'd never asked for recognition, never demanded they mention it at family dinners or thank me in front of guests. I'd just done it because that's what you do when people need help, except they didn't need help anymore. They just liked free money. I thought about going back inside, confronting them, asking Mom why she humiliated me in front of neighbors, asking Samantha how she got my card number, asking Dad if he even noticed I existed beyond the checks I sent, asking all of them why 7 years of financial support earned me nothing but public mockery. But I didn't, because I knew how that conversation would go. Mom would call me dramatic. Samantha would laugh it off as a misunderstanding. Dad would look uncomfortable and change the subject. They'd gaslight me into believing I was overreacting, that family helps family, that I should be grateful they even let me come to the cookout, that I was being selfish for expecting basic respect in exchange for nearly $200,000. So I made a different choice. I opened my laptop and pulled up every financial document I had, spreadsheets, payment confirmations, bank transfer records. I had receipts for every single dollar I'd sent them over 7 years. Dates, amounts, descriptions. I'd kept meticulous records because that's what accountants do. Because I thought maybe someday I'd need proof of what I'd contributed. And I started compiling. A single document, clean, professional, emotionless, just numbers and dates. A ledger of silence. Every payment listed chronologically. Every bill I'd covered while they pretended I didn't exist. Every auto pay that had kept their comfortable life running smoothly. The final page was different. It listed 4 cancellation confirmations, all dated that morning. Mortgage auto pay, car loan auto pay, health insurance auto pay, property tax escrow. All stopped. All done before I'd even wrapped Dad's gift. Before I'd driven to the cookout. Before Mom had called my thoughtfulness cheap. Because somewhere between waking up this morning and sitting in this driveway, I'd realized something. This wasn't about the journal. This wasn't even about the watch. This was about 7 years of being erased, of being the dependable disappointment, of being loved only when I was useful. I printed the document on my portable printer, the one I kept for client meetings, 10 pages, single-sided, stapled in the corner. Then I got out of the car, walked back through the side gate, and moved through the party like a ghost. No one stopped me. No one asked where I'd been. I found Dad's plate on the patio table. He was still at the grill. I slid the document underneath, face down, so only the blank back page showed. Then I left. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcasts. Just the hum of the highway and the weight of what I'd done settling into my chest. The sun was lower now, casting orange light across the dashboard. Traffic was light. I merged between lanes on autopilot, my mind replaying the moment Mom snatched the gift from my hands. By the time I pulled into my apartment complex, the sun was starting to dip, casting long shadows across the parking lot. I checked my phone. No calls, no texts. The party was probably still going. Dad probably hadn't sat down to eat yet. The document was still hidden under his plate, waiting. Good. Inside my apartment, I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop again. I pulled up my bank's auto-pay management portal and stared at the cancellation confirmations I generated that morning. 4 separate transactions, all killed before they could process on Monday. All done with clinical precision while I drank my morning coffee. Mortgage auto-pay, canceled. Car loan auto-pay for both vehicles, canceled. Health insurance family plan premium, canceled. Property tax escrow deposit, canceled. I'd done it calmly, methodically, the same way I approach quarterly reports at work. No emotion, just clicks and confirmations. The bank had asked if I was sure. I'd clicked yes without hesitation, because I was sure. 7 years of payments, $183,000, give or take. I'd calculated it down to the cent that morning while staring at the journal I'd wrapped. All that money, all that quiet support, and they'd repaid me with public humiliation and credit card fraud. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly. The apartment was quiet. My neighbors weren't home. The building settled around me with small creaks and distant sounds of plumbing. I felt strangely calm. No guilt, no second thoughts. Just the cold clarity of someone who'd finally stopped pretending. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, this is Peter from the watch store. Your chargeback went through. The item's been flagged for return. If the cardholder doesn't return it within 7 days, we'll escalate to collections. Thanks." I didn't reply. I just screenshotted the message and saved it to a folder labeled Evidence. Then I did something I'd never done before. I logged into the family phone plan, the one I'd been paying for since Mom insisted everyone needed unlimited data 3 years ago. $160 a month for 4 lines. I pulled up the usage details. Samantha's number, Mom's number, Dad's number, mine. I removed myself as the account holder and transferred ownership to Dad's name, effective immediately. Then I canceled my line and ported my number to a new carrier. The whole process took 12 minutes. They'd get a notification, probably Monday, probably around the same time the mortgage payment bounced. I felt nothing. No guilt, no hesitation. Just the cold, clear certainty that I was done being their safety net. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a real call. Mom. I stared at her name on the screen, watched it ring. 4 times. 5. Then it went to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. I blocked her number. Then I blocked Samantha's. Then I blocked Dad's. Not out of anger, not out of spite, just out of necessity. Because I knew what came next. The panic, the scrambling, the desperate calls asking why payments were bouncing and bills were overdue, the gaslighting, the accusations, the guilt trips about family loyalty and how I was abandoning them over something small, something silly, something that didn't matter. I wasn't interested in hearing it. I'd said everything I needed to say in 10 printed pages under a dinner plate. If they wanted answers, they could read the document. If they wanted to argue, they could argue with the bank. I was done talking. My phone stayed silent for the rest of the evening. I ordered takeout. I watched a movie. I went to bed at 10, but I knew that wouldn't last. The knock came at 9:30 that night. I'd been sitting on my couch, halfway through a reheated burrito and a documentary about financial fraud, when 3 sharp raps echoed through my apartment. Loud, insistent, angry. I didn't move. Another knock, harder this time. The sound reverberated through the doorframe. "Brandon, I know you're in there. Open the door." Samantha. I set my plate down and walked slowly to the door. I didn't open it. I just stood there, one hand on the deadbolt, listening. My heart was steady. My breathing was calm. I felt nothing but a strange, cold curiosity about what she'd say. "Brandon, stop being childish. We need to talk. Now." Her voice was sharp, clipped, the tone she used when she wanted something and wasn't interested in hearing no. I'd heard it 1,000 times. When she needed a cosigner. When she needed money. When she needed me to clean up her messes. When she needed me to be invisible but useful. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door 3 inches, keeping the chain latched. Samantha stood in the hallway, still wearing her cookout outfit, her face tight with barely contained fury. Her makeup was smudged at the corners. Her perfect hair was slightly disheveled. She looked like someone who'd just spent 2 hours being yelled at. "What the hell did you do?" she hissed. I looked at her calmly. "I think you know. The watch got flagged. They're saying I used a stolen card. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? Dad opened the box in front of everyone, and now the store is demanding I return it or they'll send it to collections." I almost laughed. "You did use a stolen card. Mine." Her mouth opened, closed. She recovered fast, her face shifting into something that might have been apologetic if her eyes weren't still angry. "It was a mistake. I thought it was Mom's card. You know how she gives me hers sometimes for emergencies. Right. And my name on the statement was just a coincidence. She flushed. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. Just call the store and fix it. Tell them it was authorized. Dad's birthday is ruined because of you. No. The word hung in the air between us. Simple, final, absolute. Samantha's eyes narrowed. What do you mean, no? I mean no. You committed fraud. You stole my card information and bought an expensive gift so you could look good in front of everyone. I reversed the charge. That's the end of it. You can't just do that. That's Dad's gift. He was so happy. And now everyone thinks I'm some kind of fraud. Then you should have paid for it yourself. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Why are you being like this? What's your problem? This isn't like you. I felt something cold settle in my chest. A strange, quiet calm. For 7 years, I'd swallowed every insult, every dismissal, every moment of being treated like I didn't matter. I'd told myself it was fine. That family was complicated, that I was helping, that eventually they'd notice. Eventually they'd care. But standing there looking at Samantha's entitled, furious face, I realized I was done justifying their behavior. My problem, I said slowly, is that I've spent 7 years paying for your life, and Mom's, and Dad's, and the only thing I ever got in return was being told my gifts are cheap. Samantha blinked. What are you talking about? Ask Dad. He has the receipts. I started to close the door. Samantha's hand shot out, stopping it. Wait, what receipts? Brandon, what did you do? I met her eyes. I stopped paying. Her face went pale. Stopped paying for what? Everything. I pulled the door shut, latched the deadbolt, and walked back to my couch. Samantha pounded on the door 3 more times, shouting muffled threats and demands. I heard her phone ring, heard her answer it, heard her voice rise into panic. Then her footsteps faded down the hallway. I picked up my burrito. My phone, sitting face up on the coffee table, stayed dark and silent. All 3 numbers were blocked. Whatever storm was coming, I wouldn't hear it. Sunday morning arrived quiet and cold. I woke up at 7, made coffee, and sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. Outside, the city was just starting to stir. Traffic hummed in the distance. A neighbor's dog barked twice and went silent. The sky was overcast, threatening rain. I pulled up my email. 17 unread messages, all from email addresses I recognized. Mom's personal account, Dad's work email, Samantha's Gmail, even an address I hadn't seen in years, an old AOL account Mom used for online shopping. Subject lines ranged from "Call me now" to "We need to talk" to "Please answer your phone." I didn't open any of them. Instead, I archived them into a folder labeled Family and set up an automatic filter. Anything from their addresses would skip my inbox and go straight to archives. I wouldn't see them unless I went looking. I didn't plan to go looking. Then I logged into my bank account and started documenting. Not for them, for me, because I knew how this would play out. They'd spin a story. They'd tell friends and extended family that I'd abandoned them without warning, that I was cruel and selfish, that they had no idea why I'd cut them off, that I was mentally unstable, that I needed help, that I'd always been difficult. So I built my defense. I created a detailed spreadsheet. Every payment I'd made over 7 years listed chronologically, the date, the amount, the recipient account, the purpose, mortgage, car loan, insurance, taxes, even smaller things. The $600 I'd sent when their furnace broke, the $400 for Mom's crown at the dentist, the $900 when Dad's truck needed a new transmission, the $3,000 when Samantha's engagement party venue demanded a deposit she couldn't cover. I added it all up. $183,472. I stared at the number for a long time. That was a down payment on a house. That was 2 years of retirement savings. That was a new car, a graduate degree, a year traveling the world. That was the financial security I could have built if I hadn't been quietly subsidizing a family that didn't even acknowledge I existed. I exported the spreadsheet as a PDF. Then I drafted a letter, not to them, to myself, a written record of why I'd made this decision, the public humiliation at the cookout, The credit card fraud, the 7 years of invisibility, the realization that I'd been funding a life I wasn't invited to participate in. The moment I understood that love shouldn't cost $183,000 in my dignity. I printed the letter and filed it in a folder with copies of all the bank statements, the chargeback confirmation, the cancellation notices, and the screenshots of Samantha's text messages bragging about the watch she'd bought, evidence, documentation, proof that I wasn't crazy, proof that I'd tried, proof that I'd given everything and received nothing. Then I did something that felt almost ceremonial. I logged into the shared cloud storage account the family used for photos and documents. I'd set it up 3 years ago and paid the subscription fee every month. $12. Insignificant compared to the mortgage, but still mine. Still my money keeping their memories safe. I downloaded every file I wanted to keep. Photos of me and Dad from when I was a kid, back when he still had time for me. A few videos of family trips before Samantha became the center of attention. My high school graduation photos. My college acceptance letter that no one had bothered to frame. Then I deleted my access and canceled the subscription. The account would expire in 30 days. After that, everything would be gone unless someone else paid to keep it active. I doubted anyone would. My phone vibrated on the table. I glanced at the screen. A voicemail notification. Someone had called my new number. I didn't recognize it, but the area code was local. I played the message. "Brandon, this is your father." His voice was tight, strained, unfamiliar. "I need you to call me back. Immediately. I don't know what kind of stunt you think you're pulling, but we need to talk. The bank is saying our mortgage payment didn't go through. Neither did the car loans. Your mother is hysterical. Samantha told me what you said last night, and I don't understand what's happening. We just want to talk. Call me back, please." The message ended. I deleted it. Then I blocked that number too. I finished my coffee and closed my laptop. Outside my window, the sun broke through the clouds, casting light across the kitchen table. I felt calm, clear, free. For the first time in 7 years, I wasn't carrying anyone's weight but my own. Monday afternoon, I sat in a coffee shop 3 miles from my apartment, working remotely on a client report. My laptop was open to a spreadsheet. My phone sat face down on the table, set to Do Not Disturb. My new number was still mostly unknown. Only my boss and 2 close friends from college had it. That's when my work email pinged. Subject line, Urgent Family Emergency. The sender was my mother using her library work email. I stared at it for 5 seconds. Then I opened it. "Brandon, I don't know why you're ignoring our calls, but this is serious. The bank is threatening foreclosure. The car dealership sent a repossession notice. Our insurance lapsed. Your father had a doctor's appointment this morning, and they turned him away because our coverage is inactive. I don't understand what's happening. If you're angry about something, we can talk, but you need to fix this. Please, we're your family. This isn't a joke. Call me." I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to my personal email and archived it. I didn't reply, because here's what she didn't say. She didn't apologize for humiliating me at the cookout. She didn't mention Samantha stealing my card. She didn't acknowledge 7 years of payments or ask why I'd finally stopped. She didn't even pretend to care about my feelings. She just wanted me to fix it, to go back to being the silent ATM, to resume my role as the family's invisible financial foundation. I finished my coffee and opened a new browser tab. I pulled up the county property records and searched for my parents' address. The mortgage was 60 days from default. If they missed another payment, the lender could start foreclosure proceedings. The process would take months, but the damage to their credit would be immediate and severe. I did the math in my head. They had maybe 3 weeks to come up with the money or negotiate a payment plan. After that, things would move fast. I closed the tab and went back to work. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Dad. I'm using a neighbor's phone. I read the document you left. All of it. I had no idea you'd been covering so much. Your mother and I thought you were just helping here and there. We need to talk. Please. This is serious. We could lose the house." I read it 3 times. I had no idea. 7 years. $183,000. Payments sent every single month without fail. And he had no idea. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, "You had the idea every time I sent a payment. You just didn't care to ask." I hit send before I could second guess it. 3 dots appeared immediately. He was typing. Then they stopped. The dots appeared again. Stopped again. Finally, a message came through. "Your mother didn't mean what she said about the gift. Samantha explained the mix-up with the watch. It was an honest mistake. We can fix this. Just call me. We're family. This is too big to handle over text." I set the phone down. Samantha explained the mix-up. Not Samantha admitted to fraud. Not Samantha apologized. Not Samantha is returning the watch and making it right. Just explain the mix-up, like it was a billing error. Like she hadn't deliberately stolen my information to look good at my expense. Like I was supposed to forget the humiliation and go back to funding their lives because blood is thicker than water. I picked up my phone and typed one final message. "The payments are done. The auto pays are canceled. If you want to keep the house and the cars and the insurance, you'll need to pay for them yourselves. I'm not your bank anymore. Don't contact me again." I hit send. Then I blocked that number too. My phone buzzed 3 more times in the next 10 minutes. Different numbers. Mom, Samantha. Even a cousin I hadn't spoken to in 5 years, clearly recruited as a messenger. I blocked them all because this wasn't about negotiation. This wasn't about compromise or family counseling or finding middle ground. This was about boundaries, about refusing to be erased, about recognizing that love shouldn't cost $183,000 and your self-respect. I closed my laptop and walked out of the coffee shop into the bright afternoon sun. The air was crisp. The sky was clear. People passed by on the sidewalk, living their lives, unaware that mine had just fundamentally changed. My phone stayed in my pocket. Whatever messages were piling up, whatever voicemails were filling inboxes, whatever desperate emails were being drafted, I wouldn't see them. I'd said everything I needed to say. The rest was up to them. And honestly, I didn't care what they decided. 6 weeks later, I moved. Not because I had to, not because they found my address, not because I was running, but because I wanted a clean start, a place with no history, no memories of sitting at my kitchen table, wiring money to people who couldn't be bothered to say thank you. My new apartment had floor-to-ceiling windows that faced east. Every morning, sunlight flooded the living room, warm and bright and full of possibility. I'd furnished it slowly, deliberately. A couch I actually liked instead of the cheapest option. A desk that didn't wobble. Plants on the windowsill that I remembered to water. Art on the walls that made me smile. I didn't know what happened to my parents' house. I didn't check the county records. I didn't ask mutual friends. I didn't scroll through social media looking for updates. I just existed in the quiet space I'd built for myself, free from the weight of other people's expectations. Sometimes, late at night, I wondered if they'd figured it out, if they'd sold the cars or negotiated with the bank, if Samantha had gotten a job, or if Mom had finally acknowledged that 7 years of payments deserved at least a conversation. If Dad had ever opened that journal I'd left on the side table. But I didn't wonder long, because the truth was, it didn't matter anymore. I'd spent so much of my life trying to earn their respect, their gratitude, their love. I'd thought if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, stayed quiet enough, they'd finally see me, finally value me, finally treat me like I mattered. But they never did. And that wasn't my failure, it was theirs. One Friday evening, I got an email. Not from them, from a lawyer. Subject line, estate settlement inquiry. I opened it cautiously. It was a form letter. Short, professional. It informed me that my paternal grandmother had passed away 3 months ago and left a small inheritance. The lawyer was reaching out to all listed beneficiaries. They needed my updated contact information to process the distribution. I read it twice. My grandmother, Dad's mom, the one who used to slip me $20 bills when I visited as a kid and tell me to save it for something special. The one who sent birthday cards every year with handwritten notes inside. The one who never forgot my achievements, even when my parents did. I hadn't known she was sick. No one had told me. I replied to the lawyer with my new address and phone number. 2 weeks later, I received a check for $18,000 and a handwritten letter, dated 8 months ago. Brandon, If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye in person. Your father told me you'd moved away for work and were too busy to visit. I didn't believe him, but I'm too old to fight. I want you to have this, not because you need it, but because you've always been the kind of boy who gives more than he takes. Don't spend it on anyone but yourself. You deserve to be selfish for once. Love, Grandma. I sat on my couch holding the letter and cried for the first time in 2 months, not because I was sad, not because I missed my family, but because someone had finally seen me. Someone had noticed. Someone had cared enough to make sure I knew I mattered. I framed the letter and hung it in my kitchen, right where I could see it every morning. The check I deposited, then I booked a trip. 2 weeks in Ireland. Solo. No one to answer to, no one to fund. Just me and the open road and the kind of peace that comes from knowing you don't owe anyone anything. The night before my flight, I stood at my window, looking out at the city lights. Cars moved along distant streets. Buildings glowed against the dark sky. Somewhere out there, my family was living their lives. Maybe struggling, maybe thriving, maybe blaming me for their problems. My phone sat on the counter, silent. No blocked calls, no desperate emails, no guilt trips, just quiet. I thought about Dad reading that document at his birthday cookout. I thought about Mom realizing the payments had stopped. I thought about Samantha scrambling to return a watch she couldn't afford, and I smiled. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I'd finally learned the most important lesson. You can't buy love, you can't fund respect, and you can't fix people who don't want to see you. All you can do is walk away, and that's exactly what I did.